This is Austin Walton, and you're watching Behind the Off-Road. My name's Austin Walton. I ride for Worcs Husqvarna, and we're out here in my hometown, Reno, Nevada. I like to kind of just go find cool spots and just hang out, you know, enjoy what we have to, you know, offer for what it is out here. I mean, there's some beautiful stuff out here that I like to just go and check out, and then also go and find new riding spots. I typically ride, train, do everything that I need to do for getting myself prepped and ready for all of my races and just where I've rode since I've like grown up. So typically, you know, like growing up, I rode with my brother a little bit. Most of the time, you know, it was like friends and whatnot as I was younger and growing up through the ranks. This is actually a local spot where we used to run old Moran races, and that was kind of what I grew up doing, and I stopped doing that when I was on 65s, and once I got to 85s, I went strictly moto, but I still came out here and did a lot of riding with, you know, we have everything. You got moto spots and you got a lot of desert spots, and typically now I come out here a lot. And you know, I tend to ride by myself quite a bit. For me, I felt like the motocross and supercross side of things, when I went pro outdoors, I did a couple supercrosses before I did outdoors. So I did it kind of backwards to what most do, or did at the time. You know, it was everybody wanted to go into the pro outdoors first, then get the comfortable, like be, you know, brought into the atmosphere and something that we grew up doing more of, and then go to the supercross side of things. And for me, I did the arena cross and got my points through that and went straight into the supercross, and that's where I started out in the pro AMA ranks. And that was probably the most stressful time of my career because we had put so much money and time into me. And, you know, my dad and I were having our issues with, my dad wanted everything for me and he put in so much effort to me, and I wasn't performing to the level, so it was frustrating for my dad. And for me, I felt like I was giving everything I had, but there was still that fear that was hard to surpass, because in the supercross side of things, getting to the top, there's a lot of very like terrifying things to get over on a supercross track, to get comfortable with and know how to, you know, be comfortable with that. And it's like, I never really got to the point where I got comfortable and was able to just keep pushing with it. Like I was always kind of at that like questionable stage. And, you know, I'd show up to the supercross races, and I made all the night shows. I ended up going over the bars in Oakland for the supercross there. I was in practice and just got offset into a ruddy line, and it had a kicker in it, and I hit it the same speed as I normally would and went over the bars and endoed a 75-foot triple to the ground. Went over the bars, walked away from it, was hurt, and I almost raced that night, but I was mentally just like so beat down and so stressed out, and I was already racing with a cracked or a broken like corner of my bone in my wrist because of Houston Supercross when I cased a step on. So it was like everything built up to this point where I just didn't want to go on that track because I was terrified of it. And if you are at that point, it's not.
I was a crazy dad that thought it'd be cool to see his kid go pro, and then as time passes by, you see it differently. I also have another son, Ian. He was probably too smart for the racing. He realized what could happen to him, how much he could get hurt. He backed out of it. That helped our pocketbook a lot. The circumstances of racing, my problem is when I do something, I'm going all the way. I'm not going to be partial. We started racing locally. We were doing okay. We started going to California because we realized there was a bigger scene there. Central, Northern California, they want to call it. Sacramento area, there's some big names that actually have popped out of there. It's pretty intense racing. We'd go there and get whooped on. And then we just kept going back to take on more. And Austin continued to step it up. I mean, when he started out on 50s, he was getting smoked by guys. I mean, they beat him by a half a lap, some of the top kids. And then over time, that half lap was a quarter lap, and then pretty soon that he was running pretty much with them. And then by the time he got to 80s, he was beating them. This whole thing started out was a way to keep him in school. And then realizing how driven we are, there's an opportunity to step it to the next level. So we did. And that's just kind of how we function. I mean, I understand and I don't know, define success, but Warren Buffett says that 2% of people are highly successful. The other 98% are just the other 98%. I want to be that 2%er. I'm willing to put in the extra effort. I'm not scared to, or I shouldn't say scared, I'm just willing to. And I'm not saying people are scared. I'm just saying I put in whatever I have to keep going to the next level, and I pushed him that same way. I would think that he will do very well in the right hands because he's so driven with his personality. He's not that kid that's, how little do I got to do this? He's the one asking, what do I got to do? Because I'll do whatever.
For Austin to take championships, I think it's going to take what we've always done. I mean, for him to even get to the level of signing a contract with a company, a team like Rockstar Husqvarna, geez, that's a feat in itself. And for him to do it at the age he did, we had to do every single possible thing that we could to get to this level. So for him to win championships, it's just taking these resources, this huge pool of resources, and then just doing the same thing. It's just continuing to analyze every single detail, and you're looking for just that 1/10 of a second here and there. And at his level, it gets a lot tougher at his level because he's already at such a high level. Where before, when we would go to the track, I would sit with a lot of his trainers at the time and take notes and ask questions, and that way, when we're not paying them $500 a day or whatever it is, I can still apply those, I can apply their craft to him. And it's really tough once he gets this. There's a lot of days when I go out and go, geez, I don't even know where you can gain time. I mean, you look perfect, your form's good, you're driving out of the corner with your chin forward, and so now it's just analyzing the smallest of details and trying to pick up that 1/10 of a second here and there. And Supercross was obviously much more expensive. It just financially was just triple, I would say, at least. Desert racing, we've got access to the desert right here. He can go practice, as you've seen being up here, a lot of the top of the line courses at least, and hone his skills for off-road. But Supercross, we lived in Southern California. You have to be down there. You have to have access to a Supercross track. We even talked about possibly purchasing land and building a Supercross track. So yeah, a lot more expensive because we had to live in California. We had to commute to the track every day. He had 3, race 250s at the time that I was doing timing chains every 7 hours, pistons every 14 hours, rotating those things through. You're running T4 during the week, which is, it's still $12 a gallon, and then Pro 6 on the weekends. And I always made sure his tires were perfect because I was just very particular about that. And I wanted to make sure that when he got on that Supercross track that he had the best equipment under him, because not only is it expensive, it's extremely dangerous, and you're just one small mistake, as we even saw, or one misjudgment or one malfunction with your bike, can cost you a season, and even more. You can just break your ankles that fast, or have so it was extremely stressful financially, but not only that, going out there and practicing with him every day and seeing him not only on a Supercross track, but having to practice on a public Supercross track and not having that factory access to a more exclusive track. So you're getting out there with people who are also just learning the ropes, and you got to get in there and do your motos, and who knows, this guy it's his first time hitting a triple, he comes up short, and then you're landing right on top of him or something. So there was a lot of unknowns too, and it was extremely stressful, and definitely a much easier transition to off-road. Not that it's easy, but a lot more comfortable all the way around.
This is the local spot for me. This track I kind of ran across one day, just out doing some long trail rides, trying to find some new stuff. And it's turned into just like a full-on, just insane training track. You know, it has some gnarly braking holes, ups and downs, and it's off cambers. So, I mean, it has pretty much everything you can ask for. It's not one of those tracks you come to ride flat stuff or the stuff that doesn't have big berms and whatnot. But this place is amazing for me to come out to and have close to my house. It's like you push these hard stages where you're just beating yourself up, grinding on those days where the track's not perfect, it's not wet and whatnot, and then you get a day like this, and that's what keeps us going, you know, looking for that next day where everything just falls into place and you get to truly enjoy being on the bike. Everything's working in favor of just being an optimal day, and those are the days that all dirt bike riders, if I feel like everyone can relate to this, it's just like the best day on the dirt bike. You know, when it all comes down to it, I love this sport. You know, I don't function in the real world of things without this sport in my life. Like, you know, constantly I'm stepping on the gas in my truck. Like, I can't get enough of the noise and the sound of some naturally aspirated motor being used to its potentials and utilizing things past what you're supposed to. You know, and that's what this gives me. You know, the factory Rockstar Husqvarna team gives me an awesome bike that I can literally just abuse, and I don't even feel like I'm abusing it. Like, I feel like I can try so much harder and the thing just keeps stepping up with me, and it's always a great package. I mean, it's like today I just felt amazing on the bike, had an awesome day on it, and just enjoy what I do. So if you want to see more of this, wait for the future. Boom! Done! It's a wrap. Yeah.
you.